Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes Tottenham Blog and to another episode of the Tottenham Hotspur Transfer Talk series and another Tottenham transfer roundup as things have really heated up today with Cristian Romero, the Argentinian centre-back for Atalanta. We also have updates on other players such as Pierluigi Gollini, Brian Hill, Maxence Lacroix and I suppose every single player in the world, because we're Spurs. There's also news of a potential bid for Mikel Damsgaard, which we will touch on, of course. I have my own voice coming back here in my ears, so I'm just going to quickly pause that. Welcome everyone to the chat. Tony Young, good to see you in here. Thank you everyone for the congratulations on the 10k. Really do appreciate it. It's a crazy milestone that I'm absolutely delighted to hit. But look, without further ado, let's just dive straight into things because there is quite a bit to get through this evening. The majority of which is on Cristian Romero because there have been so many updates on the centre back, and we will start with Fabrizio Romano and what he has had to say. He said in the last 4 or 5 hours that Tottenham Hotspur are continuing talks with Atalanta for Cristian Romero, and I would change the headline there at the bottom, which I should have done before the stream started. But Tottenham Hotspur are continuing talks with Atalanta for Cristian Romero, and the player hasn't yet turned down any proposal. Davinson Sanchez is not part of the deal, and according to Sky Italia, the player's price tag is €55 million. So a few bits there to pick through. The first one is that Tottenham remain in talks with the club. We know it's a double deal that Spurs were trying to get done for Pierluigi Gollini and Cristian Romero. One side of that deal is done, which we'll touch on a little bit more in a second, including some direct quotes from our new goalkeeper in Gollini. But he says that the player hasn't yet turned down any proposals from Spurs. So there have been reports that Romero did not want to go to Spurs, and the main reason being one that is certainly very believable and one that you definitely wouldn't be surprised to see, and that is simply that Romero wants Champions League football. Romano saying that isn't specifically true. Now that may still be a stumbling block in this deal, but the player himself hasn't yet turned down any proposals from Spurs. So in terms of what he wants, there is a chance for this to go through, and we will touch on what's at the bottom of the screen there from Alistair Gold in a minute. Romano also saying the player's price tag is €55 million, which is, as Caleb says there, it is a massive fee. Looking at what Spurs think Romero could do for the club and what he could do for defence, that may not be the biggest ask in the world, but it is in every definition of it a very, very high fee for the Serie A defender of the year last year. As Steve says, evening Mr. 10k. Hey says only 90k to 100k. That's the way we're looking at that. Thank you everyone for your congratulations. I do really appreciate it. Cody Max says wings to Everton, sell immediately, and there is a bit of an update on that, which we will touch on later. Christopher, good to see you in the live chat as well. So what Fabrizio Romano has had to say on Romero, a few bits from him to get through. The main thing to take from this, from Alistair Gold, is that Cristian Romero is keen on a move to Tottenham unless a super club like Real Madrid or Barcelona to enter the picture, although that at the moment seems unlikely. So as it stands, Cristian Romero would rather play for Spurs than Atalanta. So he is open for a move away, and he wants this to happen unless a super club comes into the picture. Now the two that Alistair Gold has mentioned there, in Real Madrid and Barcelona, both have their own massive concerns this summer. Both of them are struggling financially. Real Madrid could be in the market for a centre-back if they do lose Rafael Varane to Manchester United, which is looking increasingly likely as every day passes, but they have already brought a centre-back in David Alaba. So if Varane leaves, they may move for a centre-back. The likelihood of that being Romero, I think, is very low. Jules Koundé is another name that's being mentioned for them. At the moment, they are planning on getting Jules Koundé, but again, that could all change when Varane leaves. And with Barcelona, they're in, as everybody knows, in dire financial straits. I'm currently offering some of the players contract terminations, offering them around to other teams. They don't really seem to be in a position to be able to sign any players at the moment. So it is unlikely that either of those two teams could come into the picture. Now, I'm sure there are other clubs out there that Romero would prefer to go to over Spurs, and they are clubs in the Champions League, such as, you know, even within Italy, Inter Milan or Juventus, maybe even AC Milan, and the Bayerns, the PSGs, and the Manchester Cities of the world. But the likelihood of a deal really happening there at the moment is quite slim, because they don't seem to be in the market for centre-backs, and if they were, again, the likelihood of that being Cristian Romero isn't particularly high. Gold also went on to say, just a quick one, that Sevilla are interested in Davinson Sanchez, as we kind of gathered from the swap deal agreement that Spurs had made with Sevilla for Jules Koundé, which was €30 million plus Davinson Sanchez. Now, two more bits from Alistair Gold, and he says initially for Tottenham, this deal, this Romero would be a big deal with a hefty fee. It is a complicated one, so it's not a certainty, but Romero is believed to be a player that Paratici feels can help solve the club's defensive struggles. Now, the complications there that Alistair Gold is alluding to is something we've spoken about a bit on the channel, and the main complication is that Cristian Romero is a Juventus player, and it's as simple as that. It's a bit of a weird one to get your head around, but Cristian Romero is essentially a Juventus player, and why we're in negotiations with Atalanta. I'll just go through it quickly because I know I've touched on it a few times. He is on loan from Juventus at Atalanta. It's a 2-year deal, and they're 1 year into that deal. However, Atalanta have an option to buy in that contract for €16 million, which they can trigger this summer. So if we agree a deal with Atalanta, they will trigger that clause with Juventus, sign the player from them permanently, then immediately sell him on to Spurs for what is looking to be a quite lucrative profit. You could argue Spurs potentially missed an incredible opportunity last summer to get him for €60 million, but that is why there are a few extra complications within that one. We also got a direct quote here from Alistair Gold, which really excited me when I read it, and I know it excited a lot of other people on Twitter as well. Alistair Gold says, with Gollini and Gil likely to arrive, with Lamela heading to Sevilla, and Spurs working on trying to bring Romero in, that is expected to just be the start of the transfer activity. Now, Alistair Gold has said quite a few times that it is going to be a busy week. It is going to be a busy 7 to 10 days for Spurs as we try and get a lot of our business done to create as close to the squad we're going to have for the season when the big stars start to filter back in from the Euros and Copa America and stuff like that. So Paratici, Hitchin, Levy, Nuno, whoever you want to look at, they want to get as much stuff as possible done in the next 7 to 10 days to prepare for pre-season. So definitely one to keep an eye on there. I apologise if the audio is bad. I have a fan over the other side of the room absolutely blaring on me because it's like 30 degrees here and I really can't cope with that. But thank you very much, Michael, for saying congrats on 10k. Hopefully when it cools down a bit we won't have that fan ruining the sound. But a few more updates on Romero, a lot of them coming out from Italy today. The first one is Gianluigi Langari, who said that Cristian Romero is Tottenham Hotspur's main target this summer, with the two clubs in negotiations. Atalanta rejected a first bid from Tottenham, which was worth €35 million plus €10 million in bonuses. Atalanta also like Davinson Sanchez, which will bring us on to a story a little bit later about Sanchez and Atalanta. But the news there, Langari said Tottenham have had a bid of 35 plus 10 million rejected, which is a huge bid for Atalanta to turn down. But if that is true, with Langari, a relatively reliable source, especially within Italian football, there's a lot of scope for something to happen here, because the Spurs are going in that high with an opening bid. They really do want this player, and I think a deal could be struck if that news is true. Mate Moretto, with a story, said that Cristian Romero to Tottenham is a possibility. Negotiations are currently ongoing between the two clubs. I don't know too much about Moretto, but within the Twitter news aggregation sphere, they have him as a tier 1.5. So definitely one that we have to take real note of there. La Gazzetta dello Sport have said that Atalanta have already started identifying replacements for Cristian Romero as Tottenham work on a deal to sign the Argentine. Corriere dello Sport say that Atalanta want €60 million for Cristian Romero. Tottenham have offered Davinson Sanchez plus €30 million. The Italian club are currently assessing the offer but have doubts over whether Sanchez is worth €30 million. And the final story there, a bit of a negative one coming from Charlie Eccleshare of The Athletic. He has said that Atalanta are believed to want more than €40 million or more than £34.5 million for Romero, with Spurs unwilling to meet that valuation. But the majority of stuff we're hearing is positive, that Tottenham do seem to be in advanced negotiations with Atalanta over Cristian Romero, to the point that we may have already made a bid and we know how much the club want. It's just about striking a deal and then I suppose getting this one done quickly, because if we move fast, try and get it done, there's of course less chance of any other team creeping in and trying to convince him to join one of those super clubs that he would choose over Spurs. But the main thing to take at the moment, Tottenham in talks with Atalanta. Romero wants Tottenham, and there is potential for something to happen here, which is of course fantastic to hear. Cody says that laptop really gives off the heat, man. It does. What can I do? Shauna says congrats on 10k. Shauna, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Jack, as well. And thank you, Brian Ireland. Everyone saying congrats. I do really appreciate that from every single one of you. Let's look now at a player who is going to be a Tottenham goalkeeper, and that is Pierluigi Gollini. He is currently flying to London to complete the second half of his medical ahead of this move to Tottenham. He had the first half of the medical in Milan last night, where he exclusively told Fabrizio Romano that he was very happy with whatever was going on. He didn't give anything away just then, but he has given some things away today, and we do have some direct quotes from Gollini, and this is what he has had to say. That's him in the airport in Milan tonight. He said, "I had proposals from Italian clubs, but Tottenham are the best one. I respect Hugo Lloris. He's a great goalkeeper, and I'm proud to work with him at Spurs." So simple as that. Gollini is going to be a Spurs player. He had, like you said, proposals from other Italian clubs. Fabrizio Romano told us on the channel the other day that some proposals from Inter Milan and Roma, even in the last couple of years, had resulted in Atalanta wanting up to €35 million for the keeper, but they've dropped that valuation. It is a 1-year loan deal with an option for a second year, then an option to buy for €15 million, but if he makes 20 appearances this season, that option will become an obligation to buy. Hey with the $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate it. Says, I'm liking Paratici's ruthlessness. With the new signings, are we closer to challenging top four in the league, or are we still short? Do we need a backup striker? Look, with every signing we get, we're closer to competing for the top four. But like I've been saying all summer, I think given how last season went and how far we were away from actually being at the quality of having a comfortable place in the top four, I still think we need to look at the four best teams in the league and judge then if we're close to them, rather than judging if our squad in general is good enough to finish in the top four. And if we get Gollini, if we get Gil, if we get Romero, I think then we are still off United, City, Chelsea and Liverpool. But if we then get a Tomiyasu on top of that and a Damsgaard on top of that, that's when I think we'll start needing to talk about the top four. But at the moment, I still think we're a bit short, and a backup striker is very important, of course, with Carlos Vinicius going back to Benfica following the end of his loan. But thank you for the super chat. Hey, I do appreciate it. Just take a few of the stories on Pierluigi Gollini. The most recent ones, Alistair Gold has said what we said there, that Gollini is expected to complete the rest of his medical on Friday at Spurs. So like I said, he's currently flying out from Italy to London to complete that second half of his medical tomorrow, and we could get an announcement as early as this weekend, which could be the same on Brian Gill. We'll touch on that in a second. Charlie Eccleshare has given us a bit of an insight into how long this has actually been going on with Pierluigi Gollini, and he said that Fabio Paratici began working on a deal for Gollini pretty much as soon as he was hired, and these negotiations predate Nuno Espirito Santo's appointment. So we've heard about this one maybe the last 4 or 5 days reliably. It's been going on for a lot longer than that. And like, just going back through my notes for all these streams, I do have quite a few stories about Tottenham's interest in Gollini, but I kind of threw them down to the bottom of every stream. So it's not ones that we really expected to happen. And last week, I think this is there's the Spurs Express and Tutto Atalanta saying there's interest in Gollini from Spurs, and I think Calcio Mercato, Corriere della Sera maybe had some stories in that in the past few weeks as well. But there it is, that we have been negotiating this since before Nuno Espirito Santo even came into Spurs. Super chat from Kendai, thank you very much for that, I appreciate it. Says, congrats on 10k, Matt. Again, thank you. I just wanted to ask, what do you think should be our targets as a club this season? For me, it's to get top 6 and win Conference League. For the players, for the people within the club, the target has to be to win the league. Like if you want to be a big club, you have to think like a big club. You have to act like a big and successful club. You got to challenge for the league title. We're not going to do that as fans. Our targets probably should be the same, but we do need to temper our expectations a little bit. And if you want to dream, if you want to be a bit optimistic, top 4, but realistic expectations for me are top 6 and just getting back into the Europa League next season, which is tough to say considering where we were a few years ago. But targets, win the league, expectations, top 6 for me. But again, thank you for the super chat. And that is pretty much it on Gollini. Now, Tom Harris is saying there are new quotes on Twitter, so I'll take a look there and see if I can find something quickly. Gollini's actually said Tottenham was the best offer, but in all honesty, it was also difficult for me to wear a jersey that was not Atalanta. So he is going to miss the club that he is leaving, but it's simply because they brought in Musso from Udinese, and he's probably not going to be the first choice keeper there. So that is why he's moving on. But a bit of graduation goggles, I say, as he moves on from there. According to Football Italia, he's also said, I'm very happy and grateful to Tottenham for this big opportunity. Hugo Lloris is a World Cup winner, so it is prestigious and an honour for me to play with him. Thank you, Tom, for bringing our attention to those. Just more quotes from Pierluigi Gollini, as he himself confirms that a move to Tottenham is imminent. Another player who is imminently joining Tottenham Hotspur is the 20-year-old winger Brian Gill, or Brian Hill, however you want to pronounce it. Fabrizio Romano tweeted again today, and he said Tottenham and Sevilla have fully agreed a deal to swap Eric Lamela and Brian Gill. The paperwork will be completed over the weekend. Here we go. So that deal is going to be done. When we're going to get an announcement on this one is a little bit up in the air at the moment, because of course Gill is currently at the Olympics with Spain. He made his first appearance today. He came on for the last 15 minutes in their 0-0 draw with Egypt in the opening game of the tournament. But I think it's AB Sevilla, or potentially another source within kind of around Sevilla, said that all sides of the contract for him were done before he went off to the Olympics. So the deal is ready to be completed, but in terms of getting an announcement with him, wearing the jersey and his interview and all that stuff, that could be a bit further away. Although we may get a simple announcement like maybe like Man United have done with Sancho and saying we've agreed a deal in principle and all that stuff without the actual media work until he returns from the Olympics, which I think would be the best way for Spurs to do that, because it's one thing getting a deal done behind the scenes and knowing yourself that it's done, but you gotta let the fans know, because look at what's happening with Takahiro Tomiyasu now. I mean, we essentially know the deal is done, or we like to think the deal is done, but the delay for that announcement is frustrating for the fans, and at the end of the day, that's who you want to announce it for. So hopefully we'll get an announcement in the next couple of days, but it could very well be delayed. Charlie Eccleshare has said that Gil is understood to have sounded out Sergio Reguilon, a former teammate at Sevilla, and been encouraged about joining Tottenham. So Reguilon must have enjoyed his first year at Spurs last year and has acted as an agent for the club in getting Gil to make this move. ABC Sevilla are saying that Bryan Gil's transfer to Tottenham is expected to be announced before the end of this week, so it could be tomorrow or Saturday when we get an announcement on this, but again, I'm hoping it is. A few other stories. Marca said that selling Bryan Gil to Spurs has provided an alternative cash injection to selling Jules Koundé, with the La Liga side now only considering big offers for the French defender. Of course, Tottenham were after Jules Koundé and had agreed a deal with the club, but the player himself turned down Spurs' proposals. So this could be seen as bad news for Tottenham, but realistically, it probably doesn't really make a difference. But AS are saying that it is bad news for one England club, and that club is Chelsea, because Chelsea were apparently interested in bringing in Jules Koundé. But now with this, these funds that Sevilla are generating from the Bryan Gil sale, they're now determined to keep hold of Koundé, and that could prevent him from moving on to Chelsea. So a bit of a win-win there for Spurs. Alistair Gold also touching on the Olympic situation, as he says Bryan Gil's inclusion at the Olympics will delay his arrival. We have a bit of an update on Mikkel Damsgaard, the Danish and Sampdoria winger. This is from La Repubblica. Not a source that I would be entirely sure of, but I've seen some of the news aggregation outlets on Twitter that I absolutely love have said they're perhaps a more decent source than they do get credit for. So I thought I'd bring the story today. And they have said that Tottenham are preparing a €25 million bid for Mikkel Damsgaard. The club have accelerated their pursuit for the Sampdoria winger and have overtaken their rivals in the race. And this is one that we've been hearing about for a couple of weeks in terms of interest in the player. But Tottenham ready to step up this hunt just a little bit more, potentially about to register a €25 million bid for Mikkel Damsgaard, which would be an incredible signing for us. I don't want to dive too much into that because I've already spoken on the player. I've analysed him and stuff like that. So if you do want to get a bit more on him, make sure to check out some of those recent videos. Just some of the other smaller stories that we do want to touch on today. The Wolfsburg sporting director Jorgen Schmadtke has essentially confirmed that Maxence Lacroix will not be leaving the club this summer, so that could be one player off our list of centre backs. Sean Walsh of 90 Minutes has said Tottenham are among those who have made inquiries for Pedro Neto, as Wolves consider selling the winger this summer. Not a completely reliable source and not a completely believable story either, as Pedro Neto is currently recovering from a very serious knee injury, and a move for him at the moment is unlikely because of the time it would actually take to get him into a team. L'Equipe have said that Barcelona forward Antoine Griezmann has been offered to 4 clubs, including Tottenham, but he's only considering Atletico Madrid at the moment. Negotiations between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid in a swap deal for Saul Niguez and Antoine Griezmann are believed to have halted after Barcelona tried to change the player from Saul to Joao Felix, and that seems to be dead in the water at the moment. So they're offering him around to other clubs. Tottenham, it's not going to happen. Let's not beat around the bush. It's not going to happen. The reason they're trying to get rid of Griezmann is because he's on €880,000 a week, which is probably Tottenham's entire wage bill combined. So that's one that we can probably ignore. Duncan Castles has said that Tottenham are pursuing a deal for FC Porto winger and right back Jesus Corona. And the Beautiful Game podcast said that Everton have made an inquiry for Harry Winks. Tottenham want £25 million for the midfielder. Winks' future at the moment is uncertain because we're getting many different reports about how he's viewed within the club. He apparently wants to stay and fight for his place in the team. Some reports said Tottenham will listen to offers, and others have said that Nuno is still trying to evaluate whether he wants the player to be in his plans next season. On another couple of of our own players, Tanguy Ndombele has been missing from the preseason games thus far. There were some reports from a source that I can't think of at the moment, Ollie from ESPN I think it was, that Tottenham had offered Tanguy Ndombele in a swap deal to Lyon for Houssem Aouar. It was ridiculous. But Ndombele, according to Alistair Gold, has just become a father for the first time, which could explain his absence from those preseason games. But for myself and everyone involved with the channel, a massive congratulations to Ndombele on his first child. Joe Hart, though, is a player that could be on the way out. Alistair Gold has said that Joe Hart will find himself battling with Alfie Moitman to be third choice keeper or move on, with the former England goalkeeper told he is not part of Nuno Espirito Santo's plans this season, as Pierluigi Gollini comes in to Spurs again on an initial loan deal with an option or obligation to buy for €15 million. And that is essentially it. The updates today. Again, there's so much to get through. The majority of that with Cristian Romero, and this is a deal we'll be keeping a very, very close eye on over the next couple of days as Tottenham continue to negotiate with Atalanta over the Serie A Defender of the Year. 23 years of age, shone in the Copa America for Argentina, and he could be the man to come in and try and stabilise Tottenham's defence next season. On Jesus Corona there, SOF said Corona is a baller, can play multiple positions. Last year of contract, Nuno managed him at Porto. ATX7 Gaming says we need to sign players who are in their prime as well. Carl Simpson says, is Anderson from Lyon still potentially on? Anderson at the moment is off. All interest from Spurs in Joachim Anderson seems to have faded, and it looks as though that is a Nuno Espirito Santo decision. It doesn't look as though he's on the list of centre-backs that we are looking at the moment. Jack Beasley says, what are Damsgaard's strongest positions? Anywhere behind the striker, in that kind of 4-2-3-1 we play. He can play in that 3, he can play centrally, or he can play out wide. He's a bit of a set-piece specialist as well. We may do a transfer target analysis of him shortly, but I'll definitely get a player profile up there for the next stream. Farhan says, I would personally not take Koundé at this point. If he doesn't want to join us, there's no point. I absolutely agree with you there. Carl as well says, don't want Koundé, better options out there. As a man says, like the stream, it really does help if people do hit that like button. It pushes the stream out to more and more people. We can get more and more people into this community. There's 1,500 people have joined us throughout the stream already, which is crazy numbers. Anush says, is Winks getting sold? It's not exactly certain now, but there is a potential for that to happen. And of course, it does depend on what players we get in. If we can bring in a midfielder, I think Alistair Gold has said that it might have been Alistair Gold. It could have been someone else. And we got huge breaking news coming in the last couple of minutes. Absolutely massive breaking news from Fabrizio Romano. Are you ready for this? Tottenham have an agreement on personal terms with Argentinian centre-back Cristian Romero until June of 2026. It is not true that the player is refusing Spurs. Tottenham and Atalanta are now negotiating on the fee. Still no agreement reached. Talks on. So huge breaking news this Thursday evening. Tottenham have an agreement on personal terms with Argentinian centre-back Cristian Romero. This window is getting exciting. This window is really starting to heat up. Could we have 3 or 4 signings in the next week or so? Cristian Romero is the player that I think needs to be top of that list of players that we can bring in. Top of the list of ones that we need to get done. And we've taken an absolutely massive step in that pursuit of the player, agreeing personal terms with him. I absolutely love that everyone's just spamming in the chat to check Fabrizio Romano on Twitter. I do appreciate that very much. With Oscar Bell I saw first, so thank you, Oscar, for that. Let me know what you think. That is a massive step for Spurs in their pursuit of this player and trying to get this deal done. Personal terms agreed. The biggest stumbling block here in this one was whether or not Romero would want to take the step down to the Europa Conference League and I suppose put his trust in the Tottenham project, put his trust in what Fabio Paratici and Nuno Espirito Santo are trying to build at the club. He seems to be willing to do that. I mean, to some extent you can question why, but at the moment we're not going to do that. We're just going to be happy that this has happened. Alan Morgan says Romero, he will come to Spurs if Barcelona and Real Madrid don't come in for him. And again, that's us. That's why we need to get this deal done as quickly as possible, because we don't want to leave any doors open. We don't want to leave time pass to allow the likes of Barcelona or Real Madrid or Bayern, PSG, Juventus, City, whoever it is, to step in and buy this player. Tottenham are trying to get it done. We've agreed personal terms with the player, and now it is simply down to agreeing a fee with Atalanta, who want 55 to 60 million euro. And what a statement it would be. What a huge statement it would be from Fabio Paratici, Daniel Levy, whoever you want to say. Absolutely massive if we do get this done. I've seen people say that Romero could have an impact on Spurs, like Virgil van Dijk said, like Virgil van Dijk did for Liverpool, or like Ruben Diaz did with Manchester City. And it's definitely possible. I mean, you can't sit here and guarantee it's going to happen, or you can't sit here and expect it to happen, but the potential is there. And Fabio Paratici is well and truly getting working at Tottenham. We saw him at the game against Colchester last night. He was on the fold the whole time. People saying even in his hotel room where he is in London at the moment, he isn't off his phone. He's on constantly in talks with his contacts, trying to get this done. We have 2 here we goes, and we could be close to a third, as again Tottenham agree personal terms with Cristian Romero. Farhan says, Matt, considering we get Romero, Gil and Gollini, what other players do you see us getting? I think another defender is important there, a midfielder and a striker. I think that's where we need to go with this one. But Let's just reel in the moment for a second that we have agreed these personal terms. Christopher says Romero's only 23, so if he doesn't feel the Tottenham project is going anywhere, he could just jump ship in a few years and still not be in his prime. Absolutely, you're spot on, Christopher, and hopefully that's what Fabio Paratici has told him in order to convince him to come to the club. But truth be told, I couldn't care less. I could not care less what he has been told. Just the very fact that he has agreed these personal terms with Tottenham is absolutely huge. And Romano confirming that on a stream on Twitch. It's a 5-year contract that he has agreed with Spurs until June of 2026. It is now down to Tottenham to agree a fee with Atalanta and get this deal done, get this double deal done for Pierluigi Gollini and Cristian Romero. It's huge news. Let's get excited. Let's get excited now. I know the pessimism has been taken over the Spurs fan base after that whole managerial saga. Then the Jules Koundé deal falling through, the Tomiyasu one just taking too long, no real developments on Lacroix, on Anderson, on so many other players. But now it's starting to happen. It's been a massive couple of days for Spurs, and as Alistair Gold says, it's not going to slow down. He said with Gil and Gollini coming in, Lamela going out, and talks on for Romero, it's believed to be only the beginning of Tottenham's transfer negotiations. We've one bit of Deadwood and Eric Lamela out. A lot of them could follow, and as I was saying before that breaking news broke, they are expected to replace the majority, if not all, of the Deadwood that we ship out. So if we get rid of Davis, we're getting a left back. If we get rid of Dyer, we're getting a centre back. We're getting rid of Lamela, we're getting a right midfielder. So could these centre backs coming in mean that maybe there's someone on the way out? We'll have to wait and see. Hey with the $5 super chat, thank you so much for that. It says Damsgaard rumours are stunning ones. That's a lot of wingers. Perhaps Nuno's plan is to use Son as a striker and not play him on the side. What do you think? I think I know the Athletic said today that there is a bit of hope that Brian Gill could actually play more centrally, and I know Damsgaard can definitely play there as well. So it is a lot of wingers, but with the way Nuno plays, if it is going to be a 3-4-3 like he did with Wolves last season, there's a lot of physical demands on those wingers, so a lot of rotation and things like that. But it's definitely true that it's quite a few wingers that we could have, but that could mean someone like Lucas or Bergwijn or someone within that team already is on the way out. Pete from the Lane, thanks so much for the super chat with the £2. It's Paratici working wonders, excited for this season, and I'm definitely right up there with you. I'm extremely excited for what's to come now. With every signing that comes in, we're going to get more and more excited. Aaron says, Maddie, I'd assume talks with Atalanta must be close if personal terms are agreed, and I would hope so. I mean, I know I said it with when the Jules Koundé deal was agreed, that because Tottenham have been in talks with Jules Koundé personally for so long, that when they agreed that deal with the club, you would assume it's because they felt personal terms could be agreed. That turned out not to be the case, but hopefully did something different out with Atalanta. If we are agreeing those personal terms, maybe we can go and get that deal done. And if we're to believe the rumours, we are only about €10 million off Atalanta's valuation of the player. So let's see where this one goes. With the big news to take from tonight, Tottenham have agreed personal terms with Cristian Romero over potential transfer for the centre back. Crazy stuff. Paratici's cooking. That's all I'm going to say. But look, we will wrap it up there. I planned on ending 10 minutes ago before that news came out. Please do hit a like on the stream if you have enjoyed it. Let's see if we can get it to 200. With 562 people watching live right now. We're currently on 133 likes, so please do smash that like button if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe in the channel as well if you are new. Of course, we hit 10k on the watch long last night, but it's not going to stop there. They're going to push for 11, 12, 13 as quickly as we can. So please do hit that subscribe button if you want more on these moves over the next couple of days. If you put it this way, if you love Fabio Paratici, like and subscribe. That's the best I can do for you. We had loads of people subscribing today. We had Andreas Nielsen, Elias Stringberg, Ian Ferguson, Peace, Brad Says, Jonathan Spain, Norman Smith, and yesterday I'm not Alan, Lim, Connor, Jake, Cheatcode, all of you, thank you so much for subscribing. I hope you enjoyed the content that you get on the channel. But again, we are going to wrap it up there. Tottenham, Paratici, Levy, Hitchin, Nuno, they're all cooking, and it's shaping up to be an exciting transfer window for Spurs. Thanks for watching.